Hi there. I'm often asked by people who are new to this industry, what are the best books for me to read on investment to get me started? Well, I've been in the fund management world for over 10 years. I've read a great number of books on the field, and these are many of the books that I've read over my career. Many of them I've read more than once. And I want to share with you today some of the books that I think are particularly good. I want to start with this one, The Intelligent Investor by Benjamin Graham, possibly the best book ever written on value investing. He wrote this first in 1949. He updated it every 5 years until this is the latest version that he ever wrote in 1973. It also has a commentary by the journalist Jason Zweig, who tries to update Benjamin Graham's philosophy for the current day investing environment, and he does a very good job of that. So if you want to understand value investing, this is a great place to start. It does look a bit intimidating, but if you start reading it, you'll be surprised at how readable it actually is. I've read this 3 times. This is a rather dog-eared copy that I own. Warren Buffett, then, of course you'll have heard of him. I think this is the best book for understanding the philosophy of Warren Buffett. It's actually a collection of many of his shareholders' letters, so it's the word from Warren Buffett himself. It's nothing that you can't get by looking through the website and picking up his shareholders' letters, but I think it's far more convenient to read it in this format. Warren Buffett actually recommends this book himself. He says, "Larry Cunningham has done a great job at collating our philosophy. His book is far better than any of the biographies written to date. If I were to pick one book to read, this would be the one." If you think you might be more of a growth investor, then this is a great book to read by Phil Fisher, one of the best growth investors ever. This book is called Common Stocks and Uncommon Profits. His son, Ken Fisher, is still an active investor today. He's carrying on the legacy of his father, and there's information that you can find on Ken Fisher on the website. This is a great book. If you think you're into growth investing, definitely read this one. This is a more recently written book by Howard Marks. He's an active investor in the markets today. His book is called The Most Important Thing, written a few years ago, but I think it does a great job of understanding risk and how we think about risk. And he makes a point that much of the industry equates risk with volatility, which is not necessarily the best or most helpful way of looking at things. He's also got a number of other lessons about investing. He has more of a value investing bent. I would definitely recommend this book. It's actually quite short, quite quick to get through. An excellent book. Also, on the subject of risk, this one, Fooled by Randomness. It's not exactly an investment book, but it has incredible lessons for the field of investing. Again, talking about risk, how there's a huge amount of randomness in our industry, and we need to understand and accept that element of randomness. If you haven't read this already, I would definitely read this early on in your career. He's written the follow-up book, The Black Swan. I would probably actually start with this one though. This one I also found very useful, The Money Masters of Our Time by John Train. It's got a different chapter for a number of different investors. It goes through each of these investors and summarises their philosophy in one chapter. So if you're looking for a place to start, this is a great one. From T. Rowe Price to Warren Buffett to Julian Robertson, the hedge fund manager, to George Soros. It's got a very quick summary of their philosophy. So if you're not quite sure where to start, there are many different types of investing out there. You're not quite sure which one is for you. Perhaps read this one and it will give you an insight into what kind of investor you might be. One last book that I want to share with you is The Anatomy of the Bear by Russell Napier. More of a history book than anything, but he selects 4 great market bottoms where if we'd invested at those market bottoms, investors could have made a huge amount of money. It's what we would all like to do. So he goes through those market bottoms and tries to understand what people were thinking at that time, whether there were any indications that the market was at a bottom, and if there's anything that we can learn for the current day. I'm not sure that I could, even after reading this book, identify the market bottoms, but it's a great read nonetheless. So I think that's probably enough books for you to get started on for the time being. If you can read even a few of those books, I think you'll learn a great deal about the field of investing. So good luck with your reading. If you have any questions, please do come back to us through the website. Thank you.